Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Friday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. LeBron James helps lead Team USA to the gold medal game on Saturday against France. We'll break it down next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers your first listen of every day, Monday through Friday. No matter how or where you get your podcast, this one's always free. It's never behind a paywall. And Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where over 25,000 subscribers are all hanging out and just wondering exactly how LeBron James kind of keeps doing these sorts of things. Despite what I think we could all agree is advanced age for a basketball player. He was one of the heroes in a remarkable and exciting comeback win for Team USA on Thursday. They beat Serbia to move to the gold medal round. 95-91 is the final score there. We'll get to all that in a second. Do want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more as the playoffs wind down. The sports stop sporting like we want them to, but this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a booster or bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So this one looked bleak, Andy, for a long time. And the U.S. was down, I want to say 13 going into the fourth quarter. And these are 10-minute quarters. Like these things, they hustle on by. And yet, 95-91, USA wins. They're going to the gold medal game on Saturday against France.
Brief correction, they were actually down 15 going into the fourth quarter. They're down 13 at the half. There was a moment that I don't think necessarily lit a fire under LeBron in the sense that it seemed like he needed waking up in this game because he didn't. But in the second half, LeBron and Bogdanovic began jawing a lot. There was a point where getting separated is probably overstating it, but there was definitely some jawing back and forth and officials telling everyone go back to your benches. And that clearly dialed in LeBron even more than he was. And, you know, there are certain players that play worse if they get angry. Like, you know, we covered Kobe for a long time, and Kobe sometimes would get a little too personal with the mano-a-mano game within the game, and he could take himself out of games at times.
It happens. Sometimes it would go the right way. Sometimes, though, it didn't. There are times, for sure.
LeBron, though, I think is the rare player that when he gets angry seems to always just dial in the most game appropriate way possible. Like he really is a don't poke the bear kind of player. Like ask Dylan Brooks how that goes. And you know, LeBron it was a great effort from Steph. Steph Curry came alive in this game for the first time really since the games that mattered began. He hit 9 threes in this game. Joel Embiid, after what has been largely a miserable Olympics, had 19 points, played very well in this game, like a dunk that also I think really fired up Team USA. But
KD only had 9 points. It seemed like a lot more, but he was big down the stretch. Yeah,
but LeBron, though, his performance in this game, I think from start, but especially to finish in the fourth quarter, LeBron had 6 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists. Like that's some nice work in these shortened quarters. And he was a very, very big part of how they pulled out what seemed like starting to look like an impossible comeback.
Yeah, so he finished with 16 points, 12 rebounds, and 10 assists in 32 minutes, 6 of 9 shooting, 2 of 4 from three-point range. I mean, in fairness to Bogdanovic, LeBron is fairly new on the scene. There's not a lot of tape on him. People don't really know necessarily what to do. Like maybe he just didn't get the memo about not poking the bear. These guys get fired up. They're in the heat of competition. Serbia, to their credit, this was easily the best game they played in the 3 now. It was one in the preliminary rounds, this one, and then they played a friendly to get ready for the tournament, and this was easily the best game that Serbia played against the U.S. And they were hitting every shot. They were playing really well. It's a very good team, Serbia, and I get the emotion and all that, but you just can't do that. It's a really bad idea. But Steph was amazing. It was great to see Embiid have a bounce back game. It was not a great game for Anthony Davis, who was in foul trouble, and really this was a very quiet one for him. He only had one field goal, finished with 2 rebounds, only played 10 minutes with the 3 personal fouls, and a good game from Embiid. But you look at this, and it was just a fun day for basketball. The France-Germany game that was on before Team USA was really entertaining. And then this US-Serbia game, particularly if you are a fan of the older players on this team, and you want to see Steph have one more run and LeBron have one more run and KD, just to have a little bit of a reminder of how good these guys are towards the tail end of their careers and what you would think would be the last Olympics for at least those 3. It was just really fun. And I'm not even that invested in whether or not Team USA wins. I just loved the basketball. It's a great day for basketball.
Yeah. And those 2 guys, LeBron and Steph, they led the team not just in, scoring or rebounds or assists or whatever category you want to throw out there. They led the team in minutes. Steph played 33, LeBron played 32, which is, again, remarkable given their age compared to basically.
Right. And the depth of this team. It's not like there aren't other guys who can come in and play. And it's only a 40-minute game. So if you're playing 32, 33 minutes, you are barely sitting.
Yeah, you're basically playing the entire game. Nikola Jokic played 38 out of 40 minutes, and Serbia needed him for all the time that they could get out there. It's funny, the NBA hasn't released it, but Sham Charania from The Athletic and Stadium tweeted out what is certainly accurate news. The NBA Christmas Day games for this coming December, they include Lakers at Warriors. Mm-hmm. By the way, it's Spurs at Knicks, Timberwolves at Mavericks, 76ers at Celtics, Lakers at Warriors, Nuggets at
Wemby at Knicks.
Yeah, well, Wemby at Knicks. But
the rest of the guys can come too, but it's Wemby at Knicks.
Right, which, by the way, that is the correct call by the league to put Wemby on a Christmas game. And I would personally have tried to work the Thunder in there. I'm not exactly sure who I would have taken out. Probably, if I'm being honest, Phoenix, because you've already got the elder statesman look at at LeBron versus Steph. I would have taken the opportunity to showcase OKC. I suppose maybe you take out Denver if you really want the star power of Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. But either way, it's apropos that Steph and LeBron would be arguably the 2 biggest stars of this day in basketball for the Olympics on the same day that the NBA decides we're going to see one more round of LeBron versus Steph on Christmas. Even if you want to say that the Lakers and the Warriors are 2 of the lower end teams that would ever be considered for this game, today was a reminder of, I get it. Yeah. I get it.
I want to talk a little bit about US versus France on Saturday, because the way the French team has made it to the gold medal game is wildly entertaining for NBA fans. But there's something else about this LeBron fueled run, and he's been excellent, arguably probably their most consistent player throughout the tournament.
He has
that has me sort of reevaluating a little bit of my pre-Olympic thoughts. So we'll get to it next.
Locked On Lakers is brought to you by BetterHelp. What are your self-care non-negotiables? Maybe you never skip leg day at the gym, but does it sometimes come at the expense of therapy day? When your schedule is packed with the kids' activities and the big work projects, stuff around the house, stuff you need to do for your spouse. It's easy to let the priorities for yourself slip. But when you feel like you have no time for yourself, ironically, that's where non-negotiables like therapy become more important than ever. Therapy helps you focus on what you want instead of what others have, so you can start living your best life. I can speak to how talking with a professional therapist helped me and my family during a really difficult period, helping us figure out how to communicate with each other better in ways that didn't leave anybody feeling either completely unfulfilled or completely unheard. And if you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible and suited to your schedule. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA.
Thanks for making Locked On Lakers your first listen of the day. For your second, how about Locked On NBA? There is no offseason in the NBA. As you can tell, we're still putting out shows 5 days a week. And Locked On NBA provides daily basketball analysis from national and local experts in 30 minutes or less. No one keeps you as informed and entertained as Locked On NBA, available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So before the tournament started, one of the things I was like, this one is more important for Anthony Davis than it is in terms of legacy, in terms of perception, in terms of all these other things, than it is for LeBron. And I think that's it was sort of objectively true, but at the same time, I was watching this game. And as they were losing, I saw more. It's going to be LeBron's for the rest of his life coming through on this Twitter feed, where the reaction is like, this is LeBron's, maker, team. It's if they win, it's him. If they lose, it's him, or whatever. And so I may have, at the very least, underestimated how much grief he would take from, at the very least, the segment of people who really are just always looking for a reason to knock him down a peg. But I think just sort of underestimated both how good he was going to be on the team, the role he would play on the team. I figured, other people might sort of step up more. And the coolness of watching LeBron do this one more time. And I think for me, even that for me was the biggest one. It's just, I think I just sort of underplayed in my own brain how cool it would be to just watch LeBron do this on this stage one more time.
Yeah, we had this conversation, I remember last week, and I was saying, I feel like this was a bigger part of his legacy potentially than you thought in the moment. And one of the things that came to mind to me was the way Kobe and the 2008 team, leading them to the gold medal and that epic match against Spain. Side note, I showed my daughter, who is becoming more and more into volleyball and very, very passionate about it. She is very driven, very sometimes too difficult on herself, too self-critical. But I showed her that clip from, I think it's a Netflix documentary about that team, where Dwayne Wade and LeBron and Chris Bosh and Carmelo Anthony and Pau talk about Kobe on the opening play of Team USA versus Spain, runs straight through Pau Gasol, a screen that he knew Pau was going to be setting on the opening play, and just decks him. And just to show her, I guess, what it means to really, I don't even want to say play with that type of physicality or wanting it that bad or whatever. It was, to me, more just the idea of what it meant to truly be focused and really tuning out everything else that may matter to you in that moment. For example, forget just Kobe and Pau's friendship. The idea of, look, man, if this goes sideways, I could be potentially injuring a guy that I need this upcoming season. It was an incredible moment, and it's a very legend of Kobe moment. But it is also something that, there was a non-0% chance that this could have gone bad
Yeah, I mean, there was some risk there for sure.
But the point being, though, people really do still remember 16 years later in an NBA career with so many accolades and an iconic image that was built of Kobe. Kobe meant more than just basketball. They still remember those Olympics.
Sure. And by the way, interesting thing that people noted, Saturday's game will be on 8/10. The date is 8/10/24. So you have 8 and 24. Obviously, Kobe's two numbers are worth the Lakers, and 10, which was his Olympic number. So if you are a believer in that sort of numerology or whatever, it's probably a good sign for Team USA. So yeah, it's not that I didn't think it would matter or like something else but it's more the idea that LeBron needs more stuff to somehow, cement a legacy or stuff like that. I think that's probably where I was coming from.
But you can still shape a legacy, though, even if he doesn't.
And I think that's the part that I probably sort of, again, underplayed in my brain is like, I was looking at it more from the perspective of rolling my eyes at the people who, for lack of a better term, the haters, Andy, and drinking their haterade. Like that to me is ridiculous. Like this idea that somehow LeBron's legacy could be damaged by, Team USA doesn't win them. There are like every player on this team is a first team All NBA player, basically. But it can still be enhanced. It can still, the legend that is LeBron can still there's a group of fans who've never seen him play in the Olympics or, of a certain age or whatever. Like you're right. There will be people who remember, assuming especially if they close out on Saturday. If they don't, obviously it's a very different conversation, but people will remember this game from Steph. They'll remember 36 points from Steph in the Olympic semifinals. They will remember a triple double from LeBron and, the big buckets down the stretch and all that kind of stuff. It's just cool. Like sometimes it's just fun to watch stuff. And we spend a lot of time like, what does this mean with the Lakers? What does this mean for the Lakers? Nothing. Like it means absolutely freaking nothing.
Hopefully there's always
right now. Short of like he's really tired. Like for the time being, nothing that's happening. Knock on wood. Nothing that's happened is going to impact the Lakers really in any meaningful way. And that's fine. And it's great. And it's sometimes just fun to just watch the stuff and marvel at how good these guys are. And I'm including Serbia in this, like, which is, I think you're the same way. It's like why we don't get too creeped out or something if the US doesn't win. Like everyone's caught up. Like the world has caught up to the US mostly.
Yeah. I mean, the U.S. may still ultimately be better than the rest of the world, but the gap has shrunk.
Yeah.
At the very least, like something that happened with Jordan and Barkley and all of those guys in 92 with the Dream Team, that ain't ever happening again. And like I've always been, I'm not consciously trying to be a contrarian. I thought this in the moment and think it over 30 years later. I find the accomplishments of 2008 and what this team is doing now more impressive, way more. In the moment. I remember everybody freaking out about these 40 or 50 point wins by the Dream Team. I'm like, they're beating nobody. Like they're some of these teams
they're beating JJ Redick's plumbers and like, repairmen.
I mean, like,
that he talked about with
Lithuania needed Bill Walton's help to get those tie-dyed uniforms just so they could have like a team. Like those are the countries that obviously I know that Jordan and Barkley and Pippen and all them, like I know they're great, but I didn't need the Dream Team to tell me that. No. It felt like
it was kind of it was cool in the moment, but it
felt like sanctioned bullying to me.
It kind of was. Honestly, some of these games really were, and
now they're beating really, really good teams.
I think if you if each round was a 7-game series, the U.S. wouldn't lose, like ever. Over a 7-game series, the U.S. would beat Serbia, they'd beat Germany, they'd beat France, they'd beat Australia, they'd beat Canada, they'd beat all of these teams. But in one game, and Serbia almost showed it today, or you look at Canada, a Shea-led team where the entire starting lineup is filled with NBA players. And, France has some NBA players and then some, sort of fringy guys or whatever. Germany, our old friend Dennis Schroeder and Tyson, like they've got good
Wagner brothers.
The Wagner brothers, like these are in any given day. These are all good enough teams and good enough players, and a lot of them play together much more than Team USA does, which makes a huge difference. That, when the best player in the world, and I think it's fair to call Nikola Jokic the best player in the world, plays on one of those other teams, you can lose. And so there were some, I think I'm sure there are some basketball fans and, hoops bros and whatever were like, it's an abomination. They needed a fourth quarter comeback to beat these guys. It's like, not really. Play that game 8 times, 10 times, the U.S. probably going to win 8 of them, 9 of them, 7 of them, 8 of them. But like, that means the other 20%, Serbia is going to win. Let's look a little bit at the gold medal game and also some important health updates for the Lakers next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by FanDuel. We love sports. We love them so much. We never want the sports to stop, but it's the summer. Sports are largely on summer vacation, so you get fewer games, and the sports don't sports like we want them to, but FanDuel lets you, me, lets everyone keep the sports going whenever we want. All you got to do is just open up the app, dream up the bets anytime you're in the mood, and there are options. You got baseball, as we've been discussing. You've got the Olympics, you got WNBA, and you've got the 24-25 odds for the upcoming NBA season, thanks to our friends at FanDuel. As of this recording, the Lakers are 35-1 to win the title. Their over-under for wins is 43.5 in the regular season. Anthony Davis, 150-1 for MVP. Dalton Knecht, 10-1 for Rookie of the Year. And Max Christie, 150-1 for Most Improved Player. And this summer, FanDuel hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com/lockedon. Start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball.
So U.S. versus France on Saturday, 12:30 Pacific is the start time. But before we do that, some good news, Andy, for the Lakers. Gabe Vincent saying he's feeling better, and Jalen Hood-Schifino is expected to be ready and available in training camp, even after not being able to play in the summer league. He's still rehabbing his back. So that is welcome news for the Lakers for sure.
And it's appropriate, too, that we'd get this news basically on the same day, because Gabe Vincent's injury and both the injuries and lack of readiness by Jalen Hood-Schifino, they are related news from last season, because the fact that Gabe Vincent was largely unavailable all year made Jalen Hood-Schifino's totally expected inability to step on the floor as a 19-year-old one and done playing the most difficult position to learn in the NBA. That made it a problem. Like, if Gabe Vincent had been available, you might still be wondering, should the Lakers have taken Brandon Bajemski or Jaime Jaquez, because you saw how good their rookie seasons were, but it wouldn't have necessarily been a problem. It was a problem last year because Gabe Vincent wasn't available. And then you look at just the individual stuff that was expected from Gabe, the defensive ability, the experience in a long playoff run, the ability to hit open shots. And, the defense last year between Jared Vanderbilt and Gabe Vincent basically having lost seasons, it suffered badly. Like, other than that brief period where the Lakers or Darvin Ham really tried to lean into the all defense look with, Taurean Prince and Cam Reddish starting and stuff, they finally found just the offense that made them the best version of themselves. But the defense was a problem. Vincent being back and healthy, he was supposed to be their biggest offseason acquisition last year. It's letting the Lakers off the hook if you want to say he becomes like a new free agent. Like, no, that's not how this works. But the Lakers could look like a different team with him available.
I agree. And the by the way, the updates on Vincent coming from Fox 40 in Sacramento. So thanks to those guys for tracking down Gabe Vincent and talking.
He was doing a camp.
Yeah, with the Gabe Vincent Skills Clinic. And so
maybe Jalen Hood-Schifino was there learning a few things.
I just think JHS, we've said it, not ready, willing, or able to call him a bust. It's way too early for that, and he's way too young. But what is disappointing is, what could have been a year where he gets the development, and maybe, you look at it and say, hey, maybe not every game, but like if you, let's say you have an 8-game stretch where you need 12 or 15 minutes a night from Hood-Schifino. Yeah, you can get it because you saw him build on, a good rookie season with a nice summer league and all that other stuff. Still no spot for him, but coming along. He's going to play in the G League all year. Like he needs another year of G League development that hopefully he can stay healthy for. It is worth pointing out that in that stretch where he finally got healthy and back on the floor and was playing with South Bay, right? We still call him, he played well. Like his numbers were quite good with the G League. So it is too early to say that he's not going to turn into a decent NBA player. It is not too early to say that he is way behind the optimistic development curve that you hoped you would get when you drafted a guy that young. So
last year too, it was the worst of all worlds for him beyond the injuries to himself. When other guys were unavailable, like there were road trips where normally with a healthy squad, JHS would have stayed back and just played the whole time with South Bay. Instead, they needed to take him on these road trips because they needed just bodies to rest.
Right.
But Darvin, understandably, was never going to put him on the floor. So he was basically on a roster that he wasn't going to play, missing out on the opportunity to get the G League reps. Then finally, when they started getting,
couldn't even practice, Andy. They barely practice. So he wasn't even getting that.
And then by the time the Lakers actually got healthy enough where you could send JHS regularly back to South Bay, he got hurt and had the back surgery, and that was it.
Yeah, it's just it was a bummer of a year to say the very least. Real quick, U.S. versus France. The French have made it to the gold medal game, Andy, by doing the thing that NBA fans find most entertaining and hilarious, benching Rudy Gobert. The most polarizing. I think Rudy Gobert is the most polarizing NBA player. I hesitated only because for a second I was like, well, wait a minute. Who likes Rudy Gobert or respects him or thinks he's really good or whatever? But I remember he does keep winning like Defensive Player of the Year nods and things like that. And he's not necessarily liked, but I do think the skill set is respected if it's still seen as a bit of a weird fit. That said, any opportunity in basketball for Rudy Gobert to look silly or superfluous or to be humiliated is one that most basketball fans really welcome.
It's a weird thing with Gobert, and maybe it's because you and I have spent no time around Rudy Gobert. I've never met him before. What it is that alienates him from so many of his peers, other than I guess Mike Conley Jr., who seems to like him, but like, and it does seem, to be fair to Rudy Gobert, that this year he had an easier time with his teammates. Yeah, it seems like there was some healing going on from that.
And as a national team player, it should be pointed out, all the guy does is show up and play for France, no matter what.
Other than, I guess at times it seems like there's just something about him that can be irritating, even though, if I'm being totally honest, I don't quite know what it is. And maybe it just becomes like a hive mind type thing where I've decided Rudy Gobert is annoying because enough people have said he's annoying that it's like
annoying. Right.
I guess he's annoying. I don't know what it is, but
it's a little. There's a little bit of a try hard thing there. I think sometimes it comes off. It may not be fair, but like when the shine started to wear off the Dwight Apple, for example, where you were just like, okay, and now we're just trying a little too hard here. Like there's a little of that going on with Gobert. He is also, I think, just an avatar for debates people have about the NBA now, and whether or not somebody should be like he's an avatar for irresponsible trades. I mean, he is at the center of a lot of those things.
He's seen as the guy that, to a lot of people, he is the reason the world shut down due to COVID.
I was about to say the mic thing during COVID and the touchy, like,
right. Which
I don't even want to make this a referendum on like the seriousness of COVID or this, that, or whatever. It was a really bad look, especially contextually at the time.
Right.
It was insensitive. It was just a really
it was a D-bag look to be doing
look.
that. It's a dumb joke to be playing. It's stupid, and then you really can't be the guy who tests positive first.
Right. You better be freaking bulletproof.
And he's also one of these guys that clearly has a defensive impact, but he can be. I think the being schemed off the floor thing is overstated, but he is easier to scheme against defensively than, say, Anthony Davis or Bam Adebayo or some of these other defensive players that are more versatile and feel more modern, and certainly in the case of AD and Bam, seem less annoying to the general populace. But
more modern and less annoying.
But you are correct.
Yes, they are both of those things. They are more modern and they are less annoying.
It does feel like the joke that writes itself that Rudy Gobert will be representing the home country as one of their faces while the same country is booing Joel Embiid, who feels more likely to have impact for Team USA than Gobert will have for France.
For sure. And it'll be interesting to see what they do. And we won't have a show in between now and then, but we'll talk about it on into Monday for sure. Be interesting to see what they do. Like, does France honor the size of the year? Because, both Canada and Germany, France played to get through, don't have Joel Embiid and Anthony Davis on the roster.
And Bam Adebayo.
You can get
LeBron for that matter.
Right. You can get by with, playing Batum, in there, just Wemby, as your lone big and all that kind of stuff, spreading the floor out and letting France's, offense move a little bit better. I don't know, like, how you do that against the US. I mean, I suspect if were I the coach, I'd be like, see if it works. This is what got us here, rather than try to go back. But we'll see what happens. Either way, I mean, at the very least, I hope in France they're being nicer to Gobert, just because, I mean, he really has been a devoted player to their national team. So we can make fun of him. But I hope they're being nice to him in Paris. Locked on Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with over 25,000 subscribers who watch our show, Andy, and then perhaps move on to Locked On NBA as their second listen or watch of every day. It's where the season never ends, and it's always providing national expertise with a local perspective from people like us. You can find the link on Locked On NBA, link to Locked On NBA in the description of this very show, so you don't need to search for it. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Have a great weekend. We'll see everyone Monday.